What's up, going on, legends? Welcome back to the channel. In today's video, I'm bringing you the tier 2 mission guide for the Crown faction. Here in season 2, this one does consist of 7 total missions. Out of the first 6, you will need to complete 5 of them in order to unlock the final one. And once you complete that, you will unlock tier 3 of the Crown faction. But before we dive into it, if you guys do enjoy this content at any time or find this video helpful in any way, make sure to show your support for the channel by going down below and smashing that like button. Let's go ahead and throw an easy goal of 150 likes on today's video, as well as if you guys like to find your way back to the channel for more Call of Duty content, make sure to do hit that subscribe button, alongside that notification bell so we don't miss you in future videos. First up, we have Sample Platter, and this is going to be a one-parter. It's asking us to kill an enemy with 9 different weapon classes in one deployment. The good news here is that without even bringing any weapons in, you could gain access to 6 out of the 9 weapons just from eliminating AI. Then you're going to want to pick up their weapon, get an elimination with it, and then move on to your next weapon class. This includes assault rifles, SMGs, LMGs. I think you know where I'm going with this, all except for the melee class. Now, the good news here is outside of the AI, you would only need to get a sniper rifle, a handgun, and a battle rifle. So you could definitely choose to infill with 2 out of the 3 of these if you have them available, and you would be basically set up for success, only needing to find whichever one you don't infill with. Now, when I did this, I tried to infill with 2 of the weapons. One of my weapons didn't go in, so I did have a sniper rifle. Then I managed to come across a handgun. Then I actually chose to go to a buy station or shop and purchase the battle rifle. That way I had one of each of the weapons. Once I got the eliminations with each of the weapon classes, this part and mission was complete. Now, next up, we have Kastov weapons testing. This is going to be a 3-parter. Part 1's asking us to kill 15 enemies with headshots with the Kastov platform of weapons. Now, the great news here is that you don't even need to bring a weapon in order to achieve this, as the AK-74U and the RPK are both a part of the Kastov platform, and they are dropped pretty regularly by the AI. So just get your hands on either the Kastov or the RPK, or choose to infill with a Kastov platform of your choice, and you guys will be able to eliminate those 15 enemies with headshots, and obviously part 1 will be complete. Part 2 is asking you to kill 2 operators with the Kastov platform. This might be a little bit more challenging with the default weapons the AI drops. So infilling with maybe a Kastov 7.62, which is pretty solid currently in Season 2, or even the RPK, although it was recently nerfed, can actually give you guys a lot of bullets to work with, making it fairly easy to eliminate multiple operators. Great way to go about this would be to camp an exfil. You can even choose to go for a hunt squad. However it is that you choose to get your operator eliminations, just keep in mind that whether or not you get these in the same match does not matter. Get 2 eliminations over time with your Kastov platform, and part 2 will be complete. Now, part 3 is asking us to kill 1 commander with the Kastov platform. Now, you don't really necessarily have to bring an insured weapon slot for this one. You could always pick up the RPK or that 74U. You could do a majority of your damage with another weapon. As long as you get the final shots with the Kastov platform to finish off that commander, you guys will of course get this progress that you need. I definitely recommend going for the Jug. The Jug is always a very easy elimination for me. Just completing an intel contract, getting it to the exact location, kind of baiting it to the edge, and just stunning and slamming him will overall just eliminate him pretty fast. But once you guys do eliminate that commander, part 3 and this mission will be complete. Next up, we have Vehicular Manslaughter, and this one is going to be a 2-parter. Part 1 is asking us to kill 10 enemies with the explosion from a C4 detonated vehicle. Now, this is going to be any vehicle on the map. You can choose to load up C4, try to drive it into some enemies, blow up the C4, and hope that it eliminates them. Now, the vehicle itself does not need to explode for the eliminations to count. Just the C4 itself needs to explode while it's on the vehicle and kill the enemies in the area. Now, the best way I went about doing this was to actually wait for the helicopters to land almost all the way on the ground. Then I just threw the C4 on it and blew it up, and then it blew up the enemies that were basically trying to get out, allowing me to pick up the eliminations pretty quickly. Another good option, which I wasn't able to actually do because I didn't come across them, was those AQ pickup trucks that are armored. They carry around like 5 enemies in them. Just kind of wait for them to drive in the location nearby, throw your C4 on it, blow that up pretty quickly, and you guys should get a majority of the eliminations before the guys actually get out of the trucks. Basically, once you get the 10 eliminations from blowing up C4 on the outside of a vehicle and getting those limbs, this part will be complete. Now, part 2 is asking us to kill 4 enemies with the explosion from the C4 detonated helicopter. Now, you can actually do this alongside part 1 because I did choose to do helicopters to get part 1 done as well. But part 2, you just need to get 4 of those eliminations. Likely, if you're going to be doing multiple helicopters to do part 1, you'll probably finish part 2 at the exact same time. Just wait for that helicopter to basically touch down on the ground, throw 2 C4s on it, blow up those C4s, and it should eliminate a majority of those enemies, even having the potential to knock this out in 1 explosion. But once you guys get those 4 eliminations off a helicopter detonated, this part and mission will be complete. Next up, we have Intel Exchange. This one's going to be a 3-parter, and it does require a specific key. Part 1 is asking us to find and extract the Al Mazrah shipping intel from room 403 of the Ashka Island Hotel. The hotel is actually right next door to the City Hall. It's actually actually the building just north of City Hall. And you guys will not miss it as it does say hotel on the front, but of course I will show you guys the location on the map too. Now you're going to need to get access to the Lost Room 403 key before you can even get into the room. So my best recommendation here is complete as many HVT contracts as possible. I probably did like 30 before I actually got hands-on with the 403 key. Once you get access to that key, you're going to go over to the hotel. I like to zip line to the floor as it is pretty much the floor the zip line leads you to. You're going to see rooms 401, 402, and 403 will obviously be a locked door. You're going to unlock the door with the key that you acquired. You're going to go next to the bed to the nightstand, and you're going to grab that shipping intel. Basically, once you get a hold of this, you're going to want to exfil with it safely, which is extremely important. So whichever way you choose to do so, whether it's going to the final exfil, whether it's just jumping in and taking a risk, you guys exfil this safely, and part 1 will be complete. And part 2 is asking us to take the Building 21 USB stick from the dead drop in the waterways. Now, you guys will see as we go through this here why you should do this part first, but definitely recommend going and hitting the dead drop first for the USB stick before you guys go to part 1. Make sure you have the key before you waste any time, but definitely go and hit this part first if you guys are trying to do this mission successfully. But essentially, you're going to go through the waterways. There are the 3 main ways to get in there. You're going to eliminate the enemies. You're going to work your way towards that central location where the submarine is. You're going to probably have to eliminate a juggernaut, clear the area of all those enemies, go over to the dead drop, which at this point you guys might be familiar with if you've done some of the other missions. You guys are going to open up the dead drop there. You guys are going to grab that Building 21 USB stick and you're going to get the heck out of there. And then once you guys have access to this, part 2 is obviously complete. Now, part 3 is asking us to place the Building 21 USB in the hotel room. Now, this is why it's important to do part 2 before you do part 1, because likely you only have this key and you're not going to want to lose it, and you're not going to want to exfil and then have to come back and try to hit this location again, and maybe you only have a key that has 1 use. It's very important to being successful on this mission. So once you get access to that Building 21 USB stick, which obviously at this point you should have the 403 key on you, then you're going to want to take that USB stick to the hotel, unlock the door with the key like we were talking about in part 1. You're going to go over to where the shipping manifest is. You're going to actually pick that up. Then you're going to see a queue to place the Building 21 USB stick. You're going to place that stick there. Then you're obviously going to take off with your intel. Like we said in part 1, you're going to exfil with this safely. Once you complete all 3 parts, which if you do 2 and 3 and then go and do part 1 and then exfil safely, this mission will be complete. Next up, we have Boring Operation, and this one's going to be a 3-parter. Part 1 is asking us to kill 9 enemies with drill charges. Now, there is a pretty easy strategy to doing this. My personal favorite is to get snapshots and drill charges, and then of course obviously stock up on munitions or just resupply after stowing. That way you have a good amount of drill charges and snapshots in your inventory. Then you're going to snapshot the outside of a stronghold, which will basically show you where the enemies are inside it. You're just going to throw the drill charges on the outsides of the wall. It should eliminate the enemies inside, but once you've killed 9 enemies doing this, part 1 will be complete. Now, part 2 is asking us to destroy 3 vehicles with drill charges. Now, this was a little bit more annoying as even multiple drill charges doesn't have the ability to just destroy a vehicle. So what I decided to do was find a weaker vehicle, maybe a jet ski, a quad. I kind of took it down to really low health, and then I threw the drill charge on it, kind of finishing off the last bit. The vehicle then said disabled. It then would explode, counting as destroying the vehicle with the drill charge. And that doesn't even require enemies to be on them. So once I got those 3 vehicle destroys, part was complete. Now, part 3 is asking us to kill 6 riot shield wielding enemies with a drill charge. Now, part 1, we were talking about snapshotting enemies on the outside of the strongholds, and we were drill charging them through the wall. You're going to want to repeat this exact same process, only you'll probably have to go to like 2 or 3 different strongholds, as there's usually only 2 riot shielders for each one of these. You will obviously repeat this process, eliminating the guys inside through the wall, using the snapshots and the drill charges, and then obviously part 3 and this mission will be complete. All right, next up we have Electric Sheep. This one's going to be a 1-parter. It's asking us to hack the Wheelson in Oshka Island or in Building 21. I chose to do Oshka Island. I felt like it was much easier solo, plus Building 21 just tends to be a little bit more aggressive. Now, the best way to go about doing this, and there is multiple options to do it, I chose to use the DDoS, so I chose to infill with that as my field upgrade. It's pretty easy to get access to munitions boxes just by buying them, so I didn't feel like I was much of a loss. I grabbed that DDoS. I chose to go over toward the top section of the map at the Suki Castle. This is kind of like what I call the front entrance. There's a spot where the Wheelson basically just kind of patrols, waited for the Wheelson to go past. I then chose to DDoS it, which then deactivates it for a short time. I went up and then I started hacking it. Basically, once you guys kind of like deactivate it, you can also throw 2 thermites on it. I know is a pretty good way to do it. You guys will then get the queue to hack it. You will then start the hacking process. Now, I was almost done hacking it and it then came back to life and ran me over, but it did still finish the process. So once I actually got the hacking part complete, I self-revived myself. But either way, once the hacking process is complete, this mission is finished. Next up, we have our last and final mission, which is going to be Salvager, and this one's going to be a 2-parter. Part 1 is asking us to extract the 3 contraband packages from the sunken ships in Al Mazrah in 1 deployment. Now there are 3 sunken ships, one of which you are probably really familiar with. It's out there in the middle of the water, partially sunk. And then obviously there is one where the giant ship is stuck attached to Sawa, basically crashed into it. And then there's a third one completely submerged. Now the third one is actually the location I go to first. I will do my best to show you this location on the map. It's just south of the ship that's out in the middle of the water, kind of partially sunk. And it is completely submerged. So you guys are gonna have to swim all the way underwater. You guys will see the top of the deck there, and you guys should see the outline of the package. The contraband package there will be the first one. You'll swim down and grab that, and then you can move over to the second location, which is going to be the submerged or partially submerged boat that you guys can see on the map. You guys will go over there towards the front of the ship. You will head through the door. You'll take a right, you'll take a left, and there's kind of a little room there that has tipped over beds, a few lockers in it. To the right of the lockers, kind of hidden, is going to be that second contraband package. You guys will grab that second contraband package. Then you're going to want to make your way to the giant ship that is crashed into Sawa Village. Now there's a giant hole in the side of this. It kind of takes you sort of in the center of the ship. You'll go through the hole, and to the right, you'll obviously go to the front of the ship towards Sawa Village, but you're going to want to look to the left, which is basically towards the back of the ship or the endless ocean. You guys will be able to climb up to the level onto the ship, and instead of being in the water, you'll basically climb up there, and you guys should see the third and final contraband package. Once you guys get access to all 3 of these contraband packages, I definitely recommend hitting up a rescue hostage to get out of the map safely, or any other way that you guys feel like you guys can exfil safely. But once you guys do that, this first part will be complete. Now part 2 is asking us to extract 2 contraband packages from the sunken ships on Ashka Island in 1 deployment. Now these ones are going to be a little bit more straightforward, as there is an actual location on the Ashka Island map known as Shipwreck, and there is 2 ships here, both wrecked into the side of the island. Now the top ship, if you go over to that, you're going to want to be looking at the top deck closest to the side of the ship that is towards the second ship. You'll basically see that first contraband package. You guys will grab that first package and then make your way over to the second ship. Now when you guys get to the second ship, you're going to want to be looking in the center, in the spot where it's kind of flooded by water. Underwater, you guys should see that second contraband package. You guys will then pick up that second contraband package, and then you will need to exfil safely. My favorite way to do that on Ashka Island is kind of waiting for that final exfil, as pretty much 0% of the time I've run into any other teams at the final exfil. But obviously once you guys exfil with these 2 contraband packages safely in that same deployment, this last part and mission will be complete, unlocking tier 3 of the Crown faction. Now, that's going to wrap things up for today's mission guide. Thank you guys for all the support in today's video, all the support in the channel. I look forward to seeing y'all in the next one. Peace.